Hello, welcome to True Hoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Do you want to guess what I'm doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow
You'll
is
never get. You'll never
tomorrow's
guess.
Friday. Are you going to
Yeah.
see Rachel?
No, I am for one night. I am going to hang out with my pledge class from 1983. Our 40-year.
Oh,
I'm not really friendly with most of the guys. I am with one, but they were good guys. I wasn't the best uh, fraternity brother of theirs because I was a jerk when I was 18 years old. So I've made amends a few times. I'm going to make amends in person now, and and then I'm going to go see the frat house I lived in my sophomore year. I don't care about the house. I'm going to see my room, which I think is smaller than my breakfast nook in my kitchen. And I don't live in a mansion. I live in a nice house, but like humble beginnings, Jarod. Humble beginnings. And so I'm meeting my college roommate, who I am so great friends with now. I lived with him for 3 years, and then I lived with him after college till I married Chrissy. So he's going to meet me there. Yeah, it'll be fun. They're all big sports fans. A lot of the guys, and they follow that. They follow us and all of that. Yeah.
folks. David Thorpe will be descending on Gainesville, Florida tomorrow, going back to his old stomping grounds.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Right. Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah.
Gainesville, look out.
No. No, actually, I'm looking forward just to, these guys have all done, a lot of them have done very well. And they're interesting guys. They weren't interesting when I was 18 because I was an idiot. If you weren't good at sports, like what good were you to me? I was just so stupid.
So it's just Friday to Saturday, coming back home on Saturday.
They are doing, I think, a whole weekend, but I've got a black tie fundraiser Saturday night, which will be a whole lot more fun. With Chrissy putting on a nice suit and going to dance all night to raise money. It'll be fun. Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, you're probably gonna. I'm sure the Gators have a game this weekend. I was like,
I think they scheduled it I think they picked a bye week. Easy to get a hotel.
Okay.
So now I have a lot of friends in Gainesville, and the Gator basketball team's got some interesting prospects.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if I'm gonna have the time to try to get. I feel like I'm a spy until my son's done.
Okay, that's fair.
So I mentor one of the coaches in the Gator team. I'd love to go see them practice, but I need to not go in anyone's gym really that plays Florida. I was in Baylor's gym, but they don't play Florida Florida State rather. So Florida does. Yeah. I gotta be smart about that.
Big rivalry. That is the in-state rival. It's huge. Yeah. It's a big one. David, we are. Oh gosh, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days away from the tip-off of the NBA season. It's exciting. Fans are getting excited. It's a lot happening. We'll talk about your piece that came out this morning.
Yeah.
David's preseason notebook, which, David, of course, as he was wont to do, does his Larry David. Just relax and curb your enthusiasm. Let's not get too excited about what you're seeing. But there are things that give him things to consider. Some hope, some optimism, and also some, we got ways to go with some things. But, it's always nice to have that sobering thought from David. Speaking of sobering, I want to start with this ESPN piece that came out that I put in our group chat here.
Great article. Forget about the sad part of it, the tragic part. Really well done article, I thought.
An article written by ESPN's Baxter Holmes and Tim McMahon, who are, of course, friends of the show. And it's about Ja Morant and his situation and what really transpired over the last 18 months that caused him to be where he is now, which is, as everyone knows, he will be missing the first 25 games of the season. I think it's important to note that he will be practicing and traveling with the team. And David, I think that's very important, as opposed to banishing him away for those 25 games. And Joe Dumars talked about that in a media conference call he had and said, we want to make sure everything is right for this kid to transition back to the league. So this is not just a Grizzlies thing. The NBA is invested in Ja Morant getting back to the Grizzlies and, for lack of a better term, being on the straight and narrow. David mentioned it was a great article, and it was excellent reporting. A lot of the stuff we did know already, but there were things that Baxter and Tim reported from team sources. There was a meeting held between the Grizzlies GM Zach Kleiman, Taylor Jenkins, and Ja Morant in a hotel room where they were obviously seeing signs of this behavior. And Henry was on the show during the midst of a lot of this stuff. And I remember him saying, and we said this too, guys, it isn't like, the Grizzlies just found out that Ja Morant was doing these things. This is behavior that they have been following because, as you know, David, these teams have former police officers, former FBI, former Secret Service, all kinds of people that are security that trail and like monitor what these guys are doing away from the floor. So they knew what was going on, and they tried to talk and intervene with him. Things did not go well. And of course, we know what ultimately ended up happening. The incidents that became very public. There's also reporting from local business owners who talked about the change in Ja Morant and his father from when they first came as rookies to where he is now in year 4, 5. Thanks, right? Four sounds right.
I remember.
Yeah, four sounds about right. So yeah, it was a lot, but I know you had thoughts. So let's start with your thoughts on the piece.
No, let's start with your thoughts on the piece. I always give my thoughts first. I want to hear yours.
So there was an element in the piece of respectability politics, which I did not enjoy, and that was the piece about, well, they had to change the rap music and put on R&B instead. I'm like, as if, come on, like, aren't we past that kind of nonsense, folks? Like, music isn't making you do dumb things. Like, stop. So that part, whatever. I didn't agree with, but that's small quibbles. To me, David, this is a situation that Ja and his family and friends find themselves in because of what you and I talk about a lot, which is there is no manual or no roadmap on how to suddenly deal with insane riches and fame at the same time. Like, that is a powerful combination. It's a dangerous drug. However you want to metaphorically talk about it, it's crazy to literally go from, I'm from some small town in South Carolina that nobody's ever heard of and no one knows who I am, to literally everyone knows who I am, me being Ja Morant. Not just me. Everyone knows who my dad is, T. Morant. I mean, for God's sakes, when the guy's courtside, everyone was like, he looks like Usher. I mean, and so much so that when Usher was at a game, they're having a whole thing. Like, T. Morant becomes a celebrity in his own right. There's no way to understand how to deal with that. People start treating you differently. All of a sudden, you go wherever you want, you get whatever you want. People fawn over you, they deify you in many ways. That shit can get to your head very quickly and very easily. And it may cause you to think, oh, well, normal rules of society don't really apply to me because I'm special. And I think those things, coupled with the poor decisions Ja's made, and they've been outlined, and we've outlined them numerous times, in all of those scenarios that have become public, have gotten him to this point where, one, he has put himself and his family and friends in danger from actual real threat. Two, you put your earnings and generational wealth in jeopardy and real threat because your sponsors can say, hey man, get out of here. Or the Grizzlies can say, you know what, you're not worth it, right? So those two things. And three, you really lose or you had the opportunity to lose the chance of really becoming a generational type of athlete with real influence on young kids that can do tremendous good. Like, those were all the things on the table that was capable of being lost by the bad choices he was making. So for me, David, the article, I thought laid out all the things. We know that this season, this is critical for him, not just Ja, but Ja and the people around him. They're going to be scrutinized now more than ever. I'm not saying it's going to be a perfect road to maturity. You always say, you can grow up and mature. He's allowed to do that. We will see what happens from here on out.
Yeah, well stated. You mentioned, you said generational wealth, and like, do you remember what his contract is?
190 something million. He lost some money because he didn't make All NBA last year. It would have been even more.
Right. So, take someone who grew up. I don't know how he grew up, but let's say it was middle class.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe that's right, actually. So what is middle class? 80,000 in most communities. $80,000 a year. Yeah, give or take.
Right.
Okay. He's at almost 200. He'll make over $200 million over the course of 5 years. All right. Forget what the money he is making.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming guaranteed. I mean, that's a slap in the face. Cold water on the bucket of cold water. It's impossible to imagine. And I make a good living, but that's money. It's hard to fathom, right? And I deal with players. My players have now made over almost like 1.5 billion.
It's a lot of money.
I know most of them. I knew most of them when they didn't have anything. So, how do you money gets you out of anything. Fame gets you out of anything. There's no obstacles anymore. None, except for that which you build for yourself. There's always going to be someone wanting to take a drink with you. There's always going to be someone to do a funny cigarette with you or whatever, or just party later. Always, always, always. There's always going to be a woman and a man, depending on your what you're interested in, wanting to continue to spend time with you. At 4 o'clock in the morning, it's all right. That is not how the rest of us live.
Correct.
We have built-in boundaries, whether we like them or not. We can push through them, but we'll normally have to fight our friends. It's not the case here. And he succumbed to those temptations. I spoke to a player 2 days ago. I spoke to his agent today, who isn't as healthy as he needs to be. I'll just leave it at that. He's got to make some better decisions. He's making a lot of good decisions, but they're not as good as they need to be. And he's young and wants to make a bunch of money. And he figured it out. We've been telling him, you got to be a little bit smarter about some things. He said to me, and then I spoke to the agent this morning, and he said, he said it to me too. I've just got to be smarter. And so let's hope. And this guy's done nothing wrong. Had nothing really wrong with him. Ja's had some bad stuff happen now. And, remember the old show Scared Straight? Well, he's scared straight a different way. How much money is he losing for these suspensions?
Oh, yeah. God.
It's a good amount of money.
Yeah. A couple million, I think. Yeah, for sure.
No, I think more like 7.
Yeah.
It's real money.
Yeah,
real money. So I don't care how much money he's making, 190 million, 7 million is a lot of fucking money. He knows it. And it's also, they're talking about, Ja Morant as anything but what he wants them to talk to him about. So all the motivation is there. But it is a sign that I think the Grizzlies are a well-run team right now. And yet they couldn't avoid this. It's hard. We've seen Zion go through some things, very different things, but still through some things. Most of the stars have. That's one reason why I think Steph Curry is so beloved. He seems to be above all that. Seems to be. None of us really know the truth.
Right.
It's a hard path to navigate. You've got to surround yourself with people that really do care about you, regardless of your income level. I talked to a player last night who apologized to me right before the game he played last night. He texted me and said, "Coach, I'm sorry. I didn't talk to you today. I was in my head about some things, but I'm ready to go." Gave me the scouting report. This is all via text. He called me after the game. And I said, to be clear, did I do something wrong? Did I offend you? He's like, no, definitely 100% not with you. And he didn't want to talk about it. And I said, I understand, but just remember, when you score 50 points in a game, you don't need to call me. There's everyone who want to be in your ear. But I pride myself on being the kind of partner that's available when you're at your worst. And you don't have to call me, but you can. That's what John needs to surround himself with. The people that at the end of the day, if all the money went away, they're with him. It's why when you find a partner in life and in business, it's those kinds of people. And it's not easy. And Jarod, I'll finish up with this. They want that. Almost all the players I've had want that in a potential wife, business partner, financial planner, accountant, and straight on down the line.
They don't know who to trust.
It's very hard, understandably so. I got lucky. I met my wife dead ass broke. Stupid. She loved me then. It's easy to love me to make a couple of dollars. And also a lot of them, and his dad's mentioned in the story, when you celebrate the way he celebrates, and I'm not passing judgment on that. It's not something I would do, but that doesn't make me right. You're allowed to do what he wants to do. But when you put pressure on Ja, like, hey, I got to keep giving him this life. The family needs to go through some counseling together.
Correct.
Because the truth is, someone said in the article, he can own that city. Right? I forget, they might have said mayor, but whatever. Like, the Morant family can run Memphis forever if they choose wisely going forward. Absolutely. He's not in jail. He didn't kill anybody.
Right.
Not even close.
Right.
So let's recognize this is a fuck up, more than a few. And let's right the ship and let's go down as like Memphis is a very storied American city.
It is.
He can be the face of that very cool city. if he chooses to be. Let's hope he chooses wisely.
And to your point about owning the city, David, I think a little bit of that is the problem, right? Is that they are owning the city in the wrong kind of way, right? In the actions that he and the family have undertaken. And we don't need to recite them, but they've been outlisted, right? What happened at the mall, at the sneaker store, what happened at his sister's the volleyball game, like all these different areas and things that have been going on. Well, I want to focus on what you talked about, because one of the things that I pride myself on, and you do as well, one, because we're both coaches, but it's seeing the humanity in these guys. And you often talk about, and it's not the same recipe for everybody. What was great for you was marrying Chrissy, like you had the twins, like, right, sort of getting, that's not for every player, right? That's not what they want.
For sure.
But there is something about getting an established routine, having a tight circle of people who understand what the main thing is. It's like, dude, you are a professional NBA player. This is your career and your livelihood. This is the main thing that we got to focus on. All this other whatever, yeah, that comes or whatever. But this is our focus. And having that kind of discipline, these guys have discipline to make it here. But it's almost, David, like an extra, you have to ramp that up when you get to the NBA, because this is a different world because of the money and fame that comes with it.
So two things, as it relates to having a life partner, I because I was so broke and stupid when I first met her, and we kind of grew up together. I was 22, she was 19 on our first date, which is coming up next week. Will be the anniversary of our first date 36 years ago, October 23rd, 1987. Were you even born then?
Yeah, I was born in 78.
87. Oh, you were born in 78. Okay, yeah. So you were 9. So. My wife relishes the opportunity to tell me I'm fucking wrong. I had some coffee ice cream the other day, and she had it. I bought it for her and her sister. There was some left. I had some, and she said, "Aren't you the one that always brags about never have had coffee or even coffee ice cream in your life?" I said, "No, I have never had coffee or iced coffee. Coffee ice cream, not the same thing." But she wants to poke me a little bit. Thank goodness for that. Like, she is not impressed by me in the least. And I told this story before, probably to you. Last year I was on the court with a very, very good player, and he got mad day one that I was breaking up his shooting rhythm. Do you remember this story where I wouldn't let him just keep making shots in the same spot, and then sometimes I give him a quick lecture, maybe not lecture, 20 seconds of talking. Right. He just wants to shoot because he's hot. Well, I don't want him to keep shooting because he's hot. And I finally had to, and he said to it, like, one of his other friends, like, he's trying to fuck my rhythm up. I'm like, yeah, that's the idea. But I thought about it later on and realized, well, no one does that with him because he's the superstar player, right? And they don't want to piss off the superstar, but that's exactly what he needed. And I still, to this day, have no problem saying, no, try this. Like Henry said in our chat about they're afraid to kind of shit on their, I don't like that term, but on their superstar. But that's what they need. You just have to come from a place of genuine honesty. And have a constructive outlook, and as a coach or an adult in the room, in a sense, be willing to recognize, oh, I probably was wrong on that. Ja, you did nothing wrong on that, but here's where you fucked up. Just be honest about it. Be direct about it. So that's where the league can't wait so long. To your great point, these teams have their security people. I've met some of these security guys, obviously.
As have I.
Yeah, of course. Most of them know what they're doing, right? And so if they know what's going on, the league needs to be notified. And I years ago was told about a player that had a cocaine problem. White, wealthy guy growing up, had a cocaine problem. You've never heard about it because no one's ever talked about it. But I got it from people who definitely know, teammates and whatever. He had a major coke problem. The league knew about it, never did shit about it. They can't always, but in this case, they don't wait until we have this calamity. Right. And there is a philosophy, Jarod, even going to politics. I have friends, used to have more friends in politics. It'll blow over and let's not even address it unless it really hits. And then you try to cover it up. No, address it right away and hope to avoid the bad thing. And that's where maybe the league will get smart going forward. I doubt it, but let's hope.
No, I'm with you. That is often as someone who's worked in PR for a lot of teams, or a lot of not teams, a lot of different organizations. That's the strategy, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's not directly address this, and I'm like, okay, but when it comes up again later, it's going to be a bigger problem, right?
Yeah.
You got to get these things head on and confront them. Yes, it'll be some pain in the beginning. Much better to get it out of the way than the pain later on in the end.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say is that I know that I follow, and I know a lot of the Memphis Grizzlies fan community and media people follow us, and there's a lot of talk about this being a hit piece. And guys, like it wasn't an ESPN hit piece. ESPN gets no value out of
No.
bashing Ja Morant.
Just the opposite.
Right. That does nothing for them. Like that hurts like a major partner of theirs, which is the NBA. That's not a good thing. I understand that Memphis fans feel a certain kind of way, like, God, why are we hearing about this again? Leave our guy alone. I understand you're a fan and you want to move on. But the reality is the situation is where it is because of the decisions he has made. That's why we are where we are. Again, how he matures from here, and David always says, you are allowed to grow mature. At 24, I was dumb as shit, right? Like, as you get better and older and wiser, hopefully things get better. It's not going to be a smooth path because life is full of mistakes. David likes to say mistakes are baked into the game. Mistakes are baked into life too, right? Tons of them. Hopefully you learn and you get better as you go on.
I like how you put that. I want to piggyback on that. Did you ever see the movie, or I don't remember if it was in the book, but the Tom Clancy movie, A Clear and Present Danger, where Harrison Ford plays Jack Ryan? Okay, it's an old movie. They may have redone it. I have no idea. There's a great scene early on where Harrison Ford is kind of advising the president, and there was a wealthy donor to the president in the movie that was murdered on his yacht. And they suspect it was a drug deal that went bad. So in other words, this billionaire guy that has given money to the president is now killed by drug people that he was involved with. And he was a great friend of the president. And the president in this room, again, in the movie, in the Oval Office, was saying, well, we'll just disassociate yourself. And Harrison Ford kind of makes an aside, and the president says, oh, what do you want? And so the Jack Ryan character said, I would say the truth. Like, no, I would walk into it. We weren't just good friends. We were great friends. You know, we didn't just know each other. We were college roommates or whatever. Don't give them any place to go. I always think about that because I'm in the business of advising players all the time in these kind of things. Or not nefarious necessarily. Right. Like if someone thinks I have a dog in the fight, I tell them, no, this guy's a close friend of mine. That doesn't mean I can't be pragmatic, but understand this is how I feel about him. So I want to see Ja Morant the first time he speaks. I want him to do kind of what you were just alluding to. I want him to say, I was wrong. I do have an alcohol problem. That doesn't mean you're an alcoholic.
Right.
It just means that when you drink, you make some really bad decisions. That's a problem. I have an alcohol problem. If I drink sometimes at midnight, I might have some cookies or something or cracker chips. I should not. I normally have frozen grapes at night, if anything. If I have a couple of cocktails, which I'm really drinking very little right now, I will sometimes break down. So that's just the honest truth. I want him to just don't give them any place to go. Don't give us any place. No, I was brandishing guns. There were 5 other incidents no one knows about. I didn't hurt anyone. I didn't shoot anyone. Here's why. Here was my motivation. It's a alarming problem. It's an alarming problem. Guns kill people. I was in a. I mean, I do not live in a gun culture. I've never owned a gun, whatever. But I've been in a basketball game where that was going overtime on the road, packed out, literally sold out place, and a dude wearing a trench coat, although it was cold, it was December in Ocala, Florida. He walked past our huddle, and you could hear this loud thud. And I looked down, and I kind of like, what the fuck? It was a metal gun. Afterwards, all my players were describing the kind of gun it was. They fucking all knew. I'd never seen a gun in person, really. Yeah, that wasn't fun. This is some serious shit. And I want him to just be so vulnerable and open. He's allowed to protect certain things, obviously, with privacy, but it's washed away. Here's what I was doing. Here's where I fucked up. Here's the steps I've taken. Now just have to trust me. You'll see it on the court. That Ja Morant is dead and gone forever. Yeah, that's what we're hoping for.
No, 100%. And you know, that's what I know Memphis fans are hoping for. So we hope that does happen for Ja Morant. All right, David, you had a piece come out today, your preseason observations. Lots of stuff happening out in the league. And I love how outside of, because it's like you have all these different players that you're looking at. And you had a player that most people probably don't know, Jamal Cain with a question mark. And he's on the Miami Heat. And listen, Heat culture, fantastic. Came through their G League system. In Sioux Falls, is that where their G League is?
Yeah.
So really,
which you can't have a more night and day between G League and it's ironic. It's not easy to find irony in the NBA. It's ironic because they probably have the best combination of G League and varsity teams,
Yeah.
and yet one's in Sioux Falls,
It
South
was in South
Dakota.
Beach.
Exactly. Yeah, big difference there.
Very different. But I texted you earlier this week and I said, David, can you watch Ben Simmons? I'm seeing some things. And Ben Simmons was the first person we talked about in this article. The main thing I saw, and I read a GQ Australia piece profile that Ben did. And that's, again, folks, by the way, Australia is his home country, his native country, left there when he was 16. He just looks healthy to me. That's the biggest thing. Like, again, as I've said a million times, I could tell in warm-ups last year when I would get to a game, oh, this is going to be terrible. I mean, and he talked about it in that GQ Australia piece. Things that would normally, like just sitting down in a chair, getting up, like, well, if that hurts, what do you think it's like on a basketball court when monsters are literally trying to kill you? Like, so he was terrible last year, and they shut him down for a good reason. But, there's that warrior mentality culture in sport where you try to push and play through, which, we kind of got to get rid of some of that stuff because it's not great. You're doing potentially long-term damage. But he just looks so much more healthy and fluid, and you see a lot more spring in his step, and that gets me excited. So now, if he actually is healthy, David, what are you seeing on the basketball court in terms of his play?
Yeah, so I probably threw a wet blanket on the Ben Simmons stuff, and I'm a fan.
Yes,
there's no hate on my side. I have to remain. I'm not cautiously optimistic. I'm just cautious right now. His passing looks like it's back. I think you're totally right. He's just a big, strong, fast.
Yes.
Remember, when we're talking about Ben Simmons, I don't follow high school basketball all that closely on a national scale and haven't since the 80s, really. Maybe the 90s some. There are smart people who think he was the best high school player since LeBron. End of story. Not Zion or RJ, not Ja, none of these guys. Him. So 6'10", fast, quick hands too, not just
strong,
quick feet. Super strong, very skilled with the ball. Really a great passer, a joy to play with. If you're trailing him on the break, you're getting the ball for sure. The problem is he still isn't really looking to score. He has no foundation for scoring. He can make a layup or a dunk, but you have to trust me when I'm describing this. When he's fiddling around trying to get to the second box and operating a little bit in the post, he doesn't know what he's doing. He has no, I'm getting, we say getting to their spots. Well, I've always believed the best players, everything's a spot.
Yes.
They just got to get their rhythm right. They've got to get to the shot they want in terms of footwork and timing and within the range that they want, and then they're good. Those are the best players. I just laugh. Devin Booker has lots of spots. Chris Paul may have a favorite spot, but not the right elbow. That's not his only spot.
Well, really quick before you continue, David, Kirk Goldsberry at ESPN does that hot zone chart to talk about. And the best players, to your point, everything is a hot zone. Steph, KD, Devin Booker, everywhere's hot.
Right. So Ben has nothing. Ben doesn't have a spot. He doesn't have a kind of shot. I was watching today. Jordan Poole made just a gorgeous floater coming downhill. He 41 last night.
Yeah.
I watched the game live.
He was so good last night.
But a beautiful floater coming to. That's a shot he really likes. Ben has nothing. He shoots on roller skates. Now the good news is that's coachable. Like, even at his age, for sure. Hey, here's something you're really good at. Right hand finish, left hand finish, whatever. 1-2 step, 2-foot finish. Add a fake first. Figure it out. Let's get one move, one finishing move. We can then have 3 or 4 different ways to get to that finishing move. Now, if I have one counter to it, and I've got the same 3 or 4 ways to get into it, I have over a dozen options now. Just one move, one counter move with the different ways I can do each one. Because remember, I also have left hand and right hand. So whatever you do now is doubled because he is ambidextrous around the rim. But that's not there now. So it's a lot of 4-on-5. And so we're talking about Brooklyn because they can't tank because they don't have their picks, and because of the nature of the team, which is some good players. Claxton's good. Mikal Bridges didn't play last night. He's good, right? Spencer is good. They've got to try to win games. And it's 4-on-5 with him on offense too often. Teams are going to be less and less guarding him as the season goes on and just try to take away his options. So I'm hopeful, but I'm not optimistic at all.
No, I love what you said, and in the piece you talked about part of it too with the no foundation for scoring. You also mentioned, as he gets close to the rim, that he's always like fading away or sideways from the when he's shooting the ball, and you're like, get off skates, man. Like, again,
Yeah.
that's part of that. Nothing to do in that first and second box, and I love the idea of just have one move and a counter because, as you mentioned, he's ambidextrous, and also as you started the talking about him, he's an elite passer. So if he starts doing that and he's scoring, and the defense is all right, well, we're gonna stop you.
Yeah.
Great. My first inclination is to pass anyway. Now I
Yeah.
can spray it out to whoever, McHale or this guy, Cam Johnson, whoever's in the corner to hit threes. I just, hopefully that becomes a part of his game. And he builds on that because that's the thing, right? Like he never really built that part of his game.
Nope.
And that's what's really stopping him from becoming like, oh, now he's just devastating.
What'd be nice is he's coming on a 2-on-1 break, fake pass to a teammate and dunking himself.
Mm-hmm.
If I was the teammate, I'd be thrilled. Normally, the teammate wants the ball for the dunk, and he's great at giving that up.
Mm-hmm.
But the next phase for Ben is going to be sometimes I have to score too to keep that defender honest.
Mm-hmm.
And he just doesn't really do that almost ever.
Yeah. Let's move down to talk about Miami Heat because you have two players you watched. Of course, we'll talk about Jamal Cain because that's, again, Miami, the Miami Heat culture, they find great players. Tyler Hero, something interesting happened to him this summer, David, and really kind of happened to him all last year. He realized, and I'm sure he probably knew this already, he was being offered as trade for just about anybody. Not just about anybody, but Damian Lillard for sure, and other sort of high-end guys. And, NBA players are already motivated, right? That's how they get to this league. But, geez, just give these guys any more fuel to throw on that fire. And you're like, it seems like you kind of took that a little personally this summer and kind of said, okay, I'm here now. Let me show you guys why I'm so great and we don't need Damian Lillard. What are you seeing from Tyler Hero in the preseason?
Just a bucket. Yeah, I had heard from people in Miami he was shooting it lights out, and he didn't play last night. He looks great. Great pick and roll player, clever, crafty, has a great floater, has a great scoring second box game. So he's coming downhill off the ball screen. If you kind of stay home on the big for the lob, he can score. And if you show, he'll pass. Very skilled guy, playing with purpose. His team went to the finals really without him, and he scored over 20 a game last year. This guy's a young player. He's still growing. Yeah, it wasn't just about Kane and Hero. I really like Miami. I'm a little worried Josh Richardson hurt himself last night, 7 minutes in. Not sure what happened. I haven't heard anything today. I think he had a foot injury. They need him. He was good for them. His best seasons have been as a Heat guy. So he looks very comfortable there, almost like playing another point guard. Because they really have a natural point besides Kyle. So they need him. But Jimmy hasn't played at all this preseason. He's got a dental issues. He will be back very soon, I guess, for next week. But no, I don't think we're doing a special thing. Yeah, I'm talking Miami later. I'm just gonna leave it at that. We're talking about in our end of our pod today.
Oh, we got a special. Excellent.
Yeah.
And then just quickly, what are you seeing from Jamal Cain that gets you excited?
Yeah, so I mean, you tell me, 6'6", 6'7", athletic guys that can shoot. Yeah, you like those guys a lot. Yeah, and aggressive on defense. I love that he's from Oakland. Went to Oakland College. I honestly don't know if it's Oakland, California, Oakland, Michigan, because there's two. I don't really know which one it is. I truthfully don't. I'm embarrassed to say that, but I asked them the other day. They weren't sure, and I just forgot to look it up. But he plays with a grit. He's just, it's unfair to say Miami Heat because every team wants tough-nosed guys. It's not Miami finding them as much as Miami coaching them. There is a degree of finding, of course, you're right. But I think they build a system where players like that can do well. He's nice, Jarod. He's nice.
Yeah.
They've got they're better. I wrote this. This is the best team of the Jimmy Butler era, and they've got 2 finals and 1 Eastern Conference Finals appearance. Not already.
Yeah. Well, I already have a hint of what you're going to say in our special segment later. So let's save Miami talk for later. Let's finish up with Jordan Poole. I joke about Michael Porter Jr.'s nickname being Michael Never Swing the Rock Porter Jr., right? Well, Jordan Poole ain't too far behind the Never Swing the Rock category. I mean, this is a man who played with Steph and freaking Curry and would look him off to take his own shot. Well, you don't got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson now on his team, so he's definitely got the green light. David, you talked about Ben Simmons not having a foundation for scoring. Shit. Jordan Poole has all the foundation for scoring. And he looked incredible last night. I mean, at half, he had 29? And he scored in a variety of ways. Look, if he if that's what he's empowered to do, and he can give a shit on defense and like be in the right place, I think the Wizards have a hell of a player on their roster.
Yeah, well, the concern was that after 2 games, he was god awful. He had made 8 shots, I think, out of 25, and not a lot of minutes. He was a chucker, and so I wrote that he was like LaMelo. He and LaMelo last year were guys that took a lot of shots and didn't make a lot. Their percentages were low, and then last night he went off. And I've heard good things about how he's been doing there and fitting and all that. If he gets nuclear a lot, yeah, he's going to score a ton of points. He's going to take a lot of shots either way. I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Cool.
I like some of their young guys. I like Bilal Coulibaly a lot. I love Ryan Rollins, who had 13 last night, played very well. I think Kispert can find a place.
Nice.
Abdia, I'm not sure about Abdia. And the Wizards have to embrace Jordan Poole's style, and Kuzma.
Yeah.
Kuzma too. Both those guys are a little thirsty. Yeah. They both are capable passers, but they'd rather not pass. And Daniel Gafford's good. He's a solid center. Yeah, solid center. So Tyus Jones is good.
Yes, he is.
They have a foundation to be a perfectly slightly below average team. with potential down the road if some of these young guys, Bilal especially.
Right.
Bilal's a long, young 18-year-old, maybe 19 now. He's got a chance. Like I'm telling you, he's got a chance. So, and Rollins does too. So, I think they're better off moving these guys.
I think you're right. Tyus Jones, Jordan, especially.
Yeah, all of them. Tyus, Jordan, Kuz, Gafford. I trade them all and just be the next Utah and San Antonio and OKC, obviously in Houston. You're going to get a bunch of picks and some good young players, and then rebuild. But I don't know that they're doing that.
Yeah, remains to be seen what happens down in Washington. All right, guys, we'll be back after this brief commercial break. Okay, David, the Phoenix Suns, they were not on your list, but they're a team that we've watched a bit in preseason, and something interesting happened. On the internet or on Twitter, which is a site you're not on anymore. Really, people started talking. This Suns team, this is just the Brooklyn Nets all over again. It's not going to work. And David, that might be true, but let's be clear about why the Brooklyn Nets of Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving did not work. Health was their major reason why they didn't work. Because when those 3 dudes played and they were on the court, that was the best offense basketball I'd ever seen. It was.
Didn't they demolish? Was it Boston?
Yes,
demolish them in the playoffs.
Demolish them. It was. Yeah. And they were up 2-0 on Milwaukee, and I was like, well, looks like they're heading to the conference finals. And then all the injuries happened, and it was over. Although a heroic KD performance almost took him to the conference finals by himself. Right. So same thing with. I can see similar things with this Phoenix team. Health being the major thing I think stopping them, because this idea that floats around and you've knocked against all the time was only one ball. These aren't Booker, Durant, and Beal aren't selfish basketball players.
Not at all.
Like, they know how to play excellent basketball, know how to move the ball. Yes, they can score in isolation, which is a huge advantage, but they like playing and moving the basketball, and you see it. So offensively, this team's going to be tough to guard. Now, they have some holes and some problems, which we'll get into. But again, this idea that, Phoenix, just like Brooklyn, offensively, they could be that great. We'll see how health and the other things work out for them.
Yeah, I was listening to my friend Zach Lowe's pod recently, and he was talking about that Brooklyn team. And that's when it hit me, thinking that, I've been watching Phoenix a little bit in the preseason. On the article I wrote, I stayed away from the obvious contenders and the rookies.
Of course.
I'm going to be doing them pretty fast. I want to hit some other things. But I do agree with Zach that team, that Brooklyn team, was impossible to guard. And I think this Phoenix team can be as well. I think KD and Booker and Beal all want to play the right way. They've been doing it for a long time. Beal had no problem playing next to John Wall in a sense, and being second fiddle and then first fiddle, didn't matter. I don't think that'll be an issue. And when I watch them play, those guys play with joy. They're playing with joy. Nurk is a problem for me. I asked you this morning, I thought Claxton was the center for the Brooklyn team. I like the guy in the dunk spot that can reach 12 feet. Nurk is not a good rim finisher.
Correct.
Because you've got to make teams pay when they're spread out the way they're spread out with those other 3 guys or 2 guys a lot of times. you've got to have the big time finisher, and that's not Nurk. But they can address that. There's
Sure.
other players they could potentially get that finish better than Nurk does. But yeah, I think when I look at, I don't know who I favor anymore. I haven't done it. I'm doing this weekend. Next week I'm writing my projection for every team, wins, losses. But I think they're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah. It's funny. We mentioned about those guys playing the right way. You know what I find funny with players like that, and you see it a lot of times with these super teams, quote unquote super teams, and Durant's talked about it a lot. Sometimes they tend to overpass too much, right? It's like swing, and it's like, all right, but
sure.
And it's like one time I saw Vogel one time being like, I love that you want it cool, but dude, just take that shot. Like that's yours.
Especially with a new coach, which says a lot, by the way, about who they are. When I saw the same thing with Toronto. Toronto was overpassing because Darko was really stressing it. I love that about a player in October.
Yes.
If they're going to err, they're going to err on the side of showing coach I'm willing to pass. Jordan Poole doesn't have that problem. He's also not playing for a new coach, to be fair.
Right.
I mean, it's new to him, but not new to the team. I like that they're doing that. I don't think that'll be a problem when you get into the year.
No.
Yeah, it took Miami a month or so with the big three, the Heatles, and then they figured it out. Yeah, they're gonna figure this part of the game out pretty fast. Yeah, there's some other things that might be harder, but this won't be one of them.
The other piece too that I like that they got, and it's so important in the playoffs, David, to have capable starters, right?
Yeah.
Basically, like guys who can stay on the floor. And someone who I think can stay on the floor, he's not elite at defense, but he's not horrendous at it. Looking at his metrics, I think Grayson Allen was a very good pickup for them. Like he's a guy that can shoot. He's a smart basketball player. He can attack off the bounce, and he's not a turnstile on defense. Again, he ain't all NBA first team defense,
right?
But he's not going to just be like, "Ole, here you go right to the rim and go right by me."
Yeah, no depth. I mean, that decision they made is to be a little bit deeper, whereas Milwaukee is a little bit shallower.
Yeah. Yes.
But still, those big three, and I want to see KD really kind of own the team in a sense, like
him more than Booker. You think?
Yeah, I'd like this. I just think Booker looks up to KD. Booker is always they're always going to be fighting either way, but you can't not look up to KD. He's
Book says all the time. This is my favorite player. Even like now as teammates, I should watch him on the floor all the time. And I think again, and we talked about Durant before, it's this weird thing because that is not Durant's natural nature. It'll be like, all right, I'm grabbing, and this is what that's not him, right? He's more of a I'm gonna do and we're gonna roll. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out.
I feel like KD has got an intelligence about him that has not been fully tapped into as a leader.
I think you're right.
I don't want him to not do it before he retires.
I think you're right.
So I mean, he just has a basketball brain. Like, KD, there have been other people who look like KD and not made the NBA. There are people that look like KD and can dribble and shoot and make the NBA, but there's only one KD. And what separates him, besides work ethic probably, and maybe some talent as a scorer, is that brain. And I just think he's like a grandmaster chess player. And so the league needs him. I'll know they'll be good if we see a lot of private conversations on the court with his arm around Book and or Beal, figuring shit out.
So what's so
That's
interesting?
That's a scary thing when you see the superstars figure shit out.
Oh, for sure, because they're already, as you said, they're grandmasters of this game. What's so interesting to me, David, about that is, as you said, I would hate to not see him take the leadership role before he retires. Do you think maybe he doesn't think he can be a leader in the way that he thinks leadership is defined?
You're getting into a potential psychological mindset that is beyond what I would know, but it's a fair question to ask because he hasn't done it, and yet he's so deserving of it. I'll just say this. I was coaching a team one time. I was just a volunteer assistant, and the team we were playing was very good. We were good. They were very good, but they were missing the two best players, and they were playing in our place. They drove like 2.5 hours. Their head coach was one of my closest friends. So I thought, well, we might wax these guys without those two best players. Well, we're killing them early. And at one point, we're shooting free throws. We used to a lot of times shoot in front of our bench in the first half so we could organize the defense better in the second half right in front of us. So we're in front of our bench, and we're shooting free throws. And their fifth best player ended up being a quarterback for the Gators.
Oh, nice.
So athlete, smart. He just wasn't a great basketball player. But he was a 4-year player. I knew the kid. His older brother played for the same coach, and so I knew the family. And man, every time they're on the free throw line, I see him talking to his teammates about what our press is doing. And I just had a sick feeling in my stomach that, fuck, he's going to fucking figure it out.
Right.
I mean, the head coach is great too, but he's not on the court.
Right.
And sure enough, it probably got up 15, 18 points. And then everything changed because they figured out what we're doing. We're pivoting, and nope, they got it. And we won at the buzzer. Literally, they missed a shot at the buzzer to beat us. And that's always something I think about when I watch these games is who's figuring shit out. And Beal is super smart. Booker is super smart. KD is another level. He's at the highest level there is. He's right there with LeBron. Fair to say. Right. I don't think he's even below LeBron necessarily.
Right.
He's a different player, but in terms of seeing it all, has seen it all. I just think that dude can figure, and they'll listen to him
for sure.
So he has to do it. It'd be different if they won't listen. I've had players who I know are super smart, and I'll say, you got to say, no, coach, they just won't listen. I mean, like this week, that conversation happened. The guys just won't listen, but they'll listen to KD, all of them, and he won't even have to tell Booker and Beal. They'll pretty much know.
Right.
It's how do we as a group figure it out for everybody else. And then, but KD's got to deliver it. Not every time.
Yeah.
And then I think they can really roll.
Yeah. Look, I think the Phoenix Suns will be a fascinating team to watch all year. Like every team, they're going to need some luck because you need some luck to win. They're certainly good enough. And the biggest thing for them is, are those three guys going to stay healthy? Like that.
Yeah.
If they miss a ton of time, that's when we got problems. I mean, that's ultimately what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
All right, David, I thought we'd do something fun today. And since the season's coming up, we're not really into like bold things or whatever, but I was like, let's have a little fun. And we'll each come up with 5 bold predictions of what we think's going to happen this NBA season. I was like, David, have a little fun. It's a little clickbaity, not what we do, but just have fun with it and see where it goes. All right. So David, what's your first bold thing you think that will happen?
I'm gonna qualify because it's smart. It's a good exercise. Because these aren't bold predictions as much as things to pay attention to. Yes. Because it's a real possibility, and maybe it doesn't seem that way. That's why the term bold is used. So my first one is the Warriors, and I have no idea what's bold because I don't really know what's out there. I don't
right.
I'm
you
not
don't listen. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. But I don't think the Warriors are favored to win the West.
They're not.
And I'm going to say that's my bold prediction again. I think it's possible that they could win the West regular season. I'm not talking about postseason. Who fucking knows?
Right.
If it's going to happen in April.
Right.
But yeah, I really like Paul off the bench. I like what he can do with Kuminga potentially off the bench. I like Dario Saric there a lot.
Yeah,
I think he's going to. I think he was very good last night. I think he's going to. I mean, going on a week ago, I thought, man, this guy's really going to help them.
And Dario's big too.
Oh yeah, I think he'll play better in that system than ever has before. This was a top 5 pick for a reason. Wiggins looks great and he knows exactly what he needs to do. Clay led the league, I think, in threes last year.
301 made threes, I think, something like that.
He'll be fine. Curry looks incredible.
Game winner last night.
So, and they're an ornery group. Like, they're like, fuck everyone, man. We're not done yet. So that's my bold prediction is that the Warriors will win the West.
I love that. I love the idea of Sarge playing in that ball movement system. Smart player. We talked about players' high IQs. He's great for that.
Yeah.
I love the lineup where they can go in the fourth quarter, David, of Curry and Paul on the floor, with Paul initiating the offense, Curry off ball, because you're like, oh my God, Curry off ball. Everybody's like, where is he? Everybody's panicking.
Yeah.
Right. So that's
with Clay, Wiggins, and Green.
Yes. And let's remember, the team missed Wiggins for 20-something games last year as he was dealing with personal issues.
Yeah.
So he's a huge part of what they do. Yeah. All right. I didn't want to name this one first, but I will because you mentioned the Warriors. This is a bold prediction. LeBron, Kevin Durant, or Stephen Curry will make the NBA Finals for the last time in their careers this season. That's my bold prediction. One of those 3 is going to the NBA Finals for the last time.
For the last time, yeah. I can say so. That's a whole nother step beyond what I'm doing. I'm not as bold as that, but I can see it. I think LeBron's gonna have a great year.
Well, given their ages too, right? Though, so it's like that's not really on the age part. It's not that bold because it's like it's hard to get to the NBA Finals.
I think LeBron led the league in field goal attempts last year. It's crazy. Yeah, like per game. Yeah, he I mean, at his age, it's amazing. All right, want my second one?
Yep.
Let's see what I'll stay out west. the Kings will struggle to make the play-in this year.
Ooh.
I don't think that's so bold, just because the West is
It's
so
very good.
bunched up. The Kings got really lucky with health last year. I also think that teams that are whole off season to kind of figure some stuff out with them. I like them. I love De'Aaron Fox and think he can make another jump. I worry about their defense still.
Yeah.
Davion Mitchell was very good last night, 5 of 5 from the field, or maybe from 3. But I'm not sure I believe it. He can really help them a lot if he can shoot well.
Yeah, for sure.
Keegan Murray needs to make a jump. Not sure he will. It's less about the Kings and more about how good the West is. But if they were a 7 seed, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Wow. Listen, that's what we call it, bold predictions. I love it. No, listen. Also, this is one season of success. It's not like they have, multiple years to fall back on. This is what we do. Like, it was first time, and dealing with being now the hunted is a little different. Ask the Memphis Grizzlies about that. All right. My second thing. SGA will finish top 5 in MVP voting this season.
What was he last year?
I don't know. I don't think he was top 5.
He might have been pretty close, though, Jarod.
Let me see.
I'm going to need something spicier than that, Jarod.
He's going to win it?
Yeah. I'm not going to argue with you at all. That would not surprise me one bit if he's top 5.
Well, because I'm assuming that
they'll win enough games.
Yes, because they're going to make a trade and, all the things.
Yeah.
That's what I'm. Oh, yeah. He was 4th last year. All right, so it's not that bold. All right.
I told you I need something spicier. I'll do my third one, and you can play off one if you want.
Okay, yeah.
Because that one is just good. That's good logical thinking. Congratulations, you're a logical thinker. All right. So I alluded to this earlier. I'll go East now. I think Miami can win the East.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. I listen. They're better, I think, than they were last year.
They're better than they were last year.
Especially if Hero is this version of, because, man, what is he, 24, 25?
Yeah, like 23.
Oh, so
maybe turning 24, yeah.
So
he's young.
If he can be an all-star, well, look out now. Now, you already got Jimmy, you got Bam.
Great. Bam has been scoring a bunch. They've got good backups. They've got Kane. I just suppose amazing. And I think they're fucking pissed, Jarod.
Yeah, they lost. Yeah, for sure.
Right. I think they got smoked.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think they're pissed. Man, we've been there twice. We lost in game 7. I think they're like last year. They barely got in. They were a playing team and lost their first playing game, if I remember right.
Yes,
Atlanta
they did.
smoked them out.
They sure did.
Atlanta smoked them out. I think there's going to be a little edge to them this year, and they're going to.
I like it.
I think it's going to be a bunched up thing in the East, but I think they can win it.
All right, to play off my SGA, because David said I'm being logical. OKC's going to be a top 4 seed in the Western Conference playoffs. How's that for some spice?
That's a bold prediction. Yeah. That's a bold prediction. Are you going to back it up?
Well, because what I think is going to happen is they're going to make a trade with those assets they have to get some disgruntled star somewhere.
So that's the bold prediction, actually.
Yes.
Is you think they're going to do a deal? Because I had mentioned the Giannis deal a month ago.
Yes.
You think, and they have all the assets to do it for sure.
They sure do.
Between young players, Josh Giddey, hello.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Jalen Williams brothers.
Chet. I know, blasphemy to OKC fans.
No. If you could, depending on who you can land.
Right.
Yeah.
And all those picks, because, guys, there's going to be disgruntled superstar somewhere. Well, shit, there might be a big 7-footer in Philadelphia who might be real disgruntled sometime soon. So look out for that one. All right.
I was thinking the same thing. It's funny. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go with a player one. I've not done any players yet. Scotty Barnes will be an all-star this year.
I like it.
And I've been very critical of him this summer and last year. I did not think he played with joy. I do not think he's playing with joy now. I tell you what, he's playing with ferocity. The ball's in his hands. He's the point guard. They have no other point guard. Siakam. He averaged 6 assists a game, whatever, last year, almost 6. But Barnes is their point guard, and the ball's in his hands a ton. The offense they run is a more European style than what Nick Nurse did, which was just kind of ISO stuff. Darko's done a very good job. I'm not sure they've lost a preseason game, not that it matters, but I just have noticed he's just bullying, and the way they're playing defense, he has a chance to really shine defensively. I don't know if he will, but I think he will. And you put it all together, I think they're better than people realize. They were better last year than people realized. They won 41 games. and had a winning. I think I may have said this before. They had a margin of victory of a 45-win team, but after they got Pirtle, they were even better than that.
Mm-hmm.
They were, the last 17 games. So they've got some holes to fill still. OG and Gary, Trent, and Pascal have contract years.
Yep.
So there's some weird dynamics there, but I think Darko is very good. I've heard great things about him. And I think Scotty is not going to be their best player. That'll be Siakam, but Scotty will be the second best player. And I think he's just going to bring a never-ending supply of fuck you. I'm getting it this year. I'm getting that max contract. And I think he'll be an all-star because of it.
I love that. I'm with you 100%. The Indiana Pacers, David, are going to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Not the play-in. They will finish in the top 6. I love Halliburton. I love the Bruce Brown addition. I love the Obi Toppin signing. Look, I think they can play fast, run up and on the court. Look,
for sure they do.
Keep Miles Turner, move him, whatever, but you can get some nice stuff back. You mentioned TJ McConnell, someone who teams might want. Again, you can get some nice. I think this team is going to be one of those teams, particularly in the NBA regular season, when you're like, oh shit, Indiana, damn, those young kids are going to want to run around all day and fly up and on the court. And you're just like, you don't want to do that because you're tired. I just think they're going to be that team that weirdly sneaks up on teams. They'll be in the fourth quarter, and you'll be like, why is this a 2-possession game or a 1-possession game? This is Indiana. They're not good. No, they're really good. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton was borderline All-NBA last year. Like, they're very good. He's
great. They were like 500 with him in the lineup last year. He just didn't play a lot at the end. Yeah, it's not crazy. I think the East has a lot of good teams. Someone's going to have to falter.
Correct.
If Ben Simmons plays really well, that'll be tough for Indiana to outplay those guys. We'll see how the Knicks do. But I do think they're for sure a possible play-in team. Yeah. I would expect them to compete for that.
They should compete for play-in for sure.
Yeah, good play-in spot. But no, you're saying top 6.
Yeah.
It's not the craziest thing in the world. All right, my last one, I'm going a little bit different. Again, not a real prediction, but I don't be surprised if Denver's a 5 seed.
Yeah.
Again, I think their bench sucks.
Yes,
everyone's
you don't like it
about it. They're all fired up with these young guys. I ain't one of them. I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible.
Correct.
But I'm not optimistic.
Yes.
I'm just pure caution.
It's not likely. It's not likely, is what you're saying. It isn't.
It's hard for young guys to play well.
Of course it is.
And they lost Jeff Green. They lost Bruce Brown.
Yeah.
Those guys were good players to them last year. And their starting 5 is amazing. But also, it better be amazing. And they are defending champs. There is a weight to that.
Yes.
There is a weight that comes with that, a responsibility. And I think because of the way, by the way, they still could win the West in the playoffs.
No doubt.
They do have the world's best player. But I think it's going to be tough to be a top 4. Not that they can't do it, but it's going to be tough.
I love that you went there because, and also I should mention Bruce Brown is on the Indiana Pacers, the team I just mentioned of going to being top 6 in the East. So I think he'll help them tremendously. Remember Calvin Booth in that piece on the Ringer? He's like, going back to back is tough. He's like, I'm not so much concerned about back to back as much as I am, can we win 3 of the next 7, 4 of the next 8? Right. So
it's a good way to look at
it. So he may be thinking long view, especially because he's banking on those young guys developing, and we know development's not linear. I'm going to say it may not. We know they're not going to be lighting the world on fire in October, right? That's a guarantee they won't be doing that. We'll see where they are come April or May. Okay, I said Indiana Pacers are good. Oh, here's one. Well, I got 2 really more because I doubled up on that other one. We talked about him to start the show. Ben Simmons will be an all-star this season.
Now you're being ridiculous.
I'm like, he's healthy. He's getting back to his old ways.
You got Brooklyn in your DNA.
That's it. I'm just throwing it out for the Brooklyn fans.
Of all the things that we said today, I'm in for that the most.
Of course.
I would really, whatever. What's happened to him is it's not like he's, this ain't Gaza right now.
Right.
Ben Simmons, but back issues, nothing to play with.
Nope.
Sitting really is hard.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a few back issues. That's no joke. You forget about playing.
Right.
So I would love for it to happen. I don't see that happening at all. But I would love it to happen.
That's why it's called the bold prediction. All right, and my extra one because I doubled up on the SGA.
I have an extra one too. Go ahead.
Okay. Look, it's not going to sound bold because they didn't make it last year, but everyone's excited about Dame and Giannis. David, the Bucks aren't going to the conference finals this year.
Yeah. I
They're just
don't think
not.
it's crazy. Yeah, I don't think it's crazy at all. I worry about their depth and I worry about their defense.
What about Chris Middleton? He is a key
Yeah,
part to that
fair
team,
thing
and
to
if
worry
he's
about.
not healthy,
It's a fair thing to worry about, and I will go the opposite way and say Minnesota will. No, no, not Eastern Conference, not Western Conference Finals, the playoffs.
okay. I was
Yeah,
like, woo.
yeah. I think, yeah. I'm not predicting. Yeah, I
Well,
have no idea what the postseason is going to look like, but to get to the postseason, I think Minnesota is just loaded with
and
defenders.
will they win?
And Anthony
Will they win a
Edwards.
series?
Yeah, ask me in April. I have no idea. They're good
Because of
enough
who
to
they
win
play.
because their defense. Yeah,
Right.
and who's playing on their team? Like I don't know if anyone's going to be injured wise, but they've got Naz Reid off the bench is a fucking bucket.
He's very good.
I wrote about him.
Yes, he's very,
today.
very good.
Obviously, Anthony Edwards. Cat
Mhm.
looks fantastic.
He sure does. Which, as we've talked about numerous times, doesn't mean he's long for Minnesota. They can move
Right.
him somewhere and get some other things back.
Right. If they do that, then they won't make the playoffs. They could kind of they could take a 1-year rebuilding around Anthony. He's young, but I think they can really be a top like 6 or 7 defense, and that's going to help a lot with Cat and Anthony Edwards on offense alone. That's be pretty damn good.
Guys, get excited! All you Timber Puppy fans, they're coming around. They're coming around. They might be really good. They got 3 centers. They're doing
right. That's funny.
They're doing things a little bit differently. All right, guys. We'll be back on Monday, and the season will be 24 hours away. We're excited. Lots going on. We didn't mention this, but James Harden did not show up to practice yesterday on Wednesday. It's not a surprise to us. David and I talked about, Harden said he's going to make things uncomfortable. Well, this is one way you start making things uncomfortable. When coaches like Nick Nurse got to get asked a question, is James playing today? Do you know? If that keeps happening, that shit's going to get old and start wearing on these guys early in the season, and we'll see if it changes anything in the calculus of where he goes. All right, folks, we will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.